Hey friends, Kevin here, and I'm here to talk to you about the very worst part of van life, as far as I'm concerned. And it's now, when it comes to winter camping and van life, you can see I'm in my large van tonight. I'm lucky enough that this thing has a furnace, and that's fine as far as heat. And that's what everybody is concerned about, and rightly so. How am I going to stay warm? How am I going to stay warm? How am I going to stay warm in wintertime when the weather changes? And we've covered that in a bunch of other videos because there are several ways to do it. But here's the problem that nobody thinks about. It was dark before 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. today. It's not going to be anywhere near being able to actually go outside until at early as 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's still going to be cold as crap. We are close to freezing right now. It's going to be down to something like 18 degrees where I am tonight, and there's going to be some wind. So wind chill's probably going to be down to 14. I've been down, I think, to 12 degrees in this before, that I've stayed for several weeks at a temperature like that, an extended period of time. But here's the thing you've got to deal with, man, and it's this: boredom. From 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. is 12 hours. And if it's nasty and cold outside, that going out there, a lot of places you are, especially if you're trying to stealth camp in a city, it's not much different if you're in a campground. It's just nasty and cold out. Nobody else is out. Nobody is hanging out around fires. It's just too cold and windy. And 6 a.m. is actually pushing it, because at 6 a.m. it's still going to be nasty and cold outside. So the reality is it's probably going to be 8 o'clock or so before you can really get going, functioning outside in winter in a van doing van life. So you're talking about 12 to 14 hours that you're having to fill. And if you can actually sleep through all that, man, more power to you. But I guarantee that most people cannot. So even if you were able to get 8 hours sleep, and say you were able to sleep from midnight until 8 a.m., that still leaves you with a 6.5 hour period, because in December, right before Christmas, it's going to be dark at 5:20 p.m. So this is a lot of time to fill. Of course, I have more space in here, but those of you that watch this channel, you know I also travel in a minivan. And yes, I've been in that minivan when it is way, way, way below freezing for extended periods of time, also on trips. This is one of the reasons why I try in these videos talking about beds to convince people that you need to have your bed built low enough that you can actually sit up in bed, instead of building it this far from the ceiling of your van, hoping to put more stuff underneath. Because when this time of year comes, when winter time comes, imagine now the only place you have in the back of your van, you can't even sit up. All you can do is lay on your bed, and you're looking at your ceiling 8 inches above you. So that's why I've told people to, build those beds low. It's important to be able to sit up on the edge of the bed, sit up in the van, because in wintertime and bad weather, you are going to have a lot of time to kill. And trust me, I meet people on the road all the time that have done this, what I consider to be the wrong way. And they are really, really miserable through the winter. Now, as far as how I entertain myself, sometimes I'm lucky enough to travel with someone. Sometimes when I've been out and it's been really crappy like this, I've been alone, but I have been camping with other people. So they may have a smaller vehicle, but I can at least invite them into this vehicle where there's more room, and we can have something to drink and shoot the bull and tell war stories and listen to some music and pass the time, at least for a while, that way. But even that is not always an option. Sometimes I am so far into the middle of nowhere, or I'm not camping with anyone I know, and there's simply no one else around because the weather again is so bad, most people don't want to get out. You know, you have the RTR blowing up there, getting ready to happen in a month or so in Quartzsite. And if you're new to van life, you'll hear about Quartzsite, Arizona, and you'll see these overhead views people did where there's thousands and thousands of RVs sitting at High Jolly in these different areas. I can tell you, man, I've been there where in the entire campground, there is like 4 of us in that huge, huge, huge space. So you're going to have to learn to deal with being alone with yourself for long, long periods of time. And if you're not planned for this, if you haven't thought this out, this is where you're going to have problems. These are the people who are going to be miserable when they get out on the road. These are going to be the ones that quit van life very shortly into it because it's not what they signed up for and they just can't stand being alone. So as far as some entertainment options, now, first of all, television. The reality is most of us don't have television in one of these vans, especially if you're in a minivan. You know, even these larger vans, even this Roadtrek, this thing actually came standard with a television back in the day, and I yanked that thing out of here long ago. I have to have something else for entertainment. For most people, it will be the phone. For a lot of us, it will be some type of tablet, like this little Amazon Kindle tablet. I use these basically as my book a lot of times and my television because I can do both. You're assuming that you're always going to have an internet connection when you're on the road, and that is simply not true. Certainly not in the West, but even in the East, a lot of times you may be in a state park and you're so far back in the woods, there is no cell service. There is no Wi-Fi. There is nothing that you can use. So if you're relying on your phone or your tablet for entertainment that night, or your laptop, you're out of luck, and it's going to be a long, long night. This tip, the reason I like this, either having the software on another device or simply using an Amazon Kindle, and you see I have a strip of adhesive, so I can just stick this thing to the wall in 10 different places in this van and watch the programs. This is the key that I have downloaded. You need a service that will let you download. Amazon's Prime service will let you do that to tablets, to phones, not laptops, but to these devices so you can watch most television shows and movies offline. That is the important part. So no matter how far out I am, no matter how alone I am, I have entertainment, whether I have any cell service or Wi-Fi or whatever or not, because I have preloaded movies and television shows onto this thing. Quite honestly, if I did not have this where I can read books, so I can relive how fascinating Billy Martin was as a baseball manager, or catch up on some television shows and movies. And the important thing again is what I showed you, that is done offline. I am not connected to Wi-Fi. I do not have cell service where I am currently, but I will still have entertainment. I would probably go completely insane because you don't realize how long that period between 6 and midnight is until you are trying to do it in a van, in the cold. Now, of course, you can do that before you leave your home base for a trip, but on a trip, you're going to have to do this from somewhere. And that's tip number 2 for this. Libraries are your friend. One, because you're not burning your data, but most importantly, libraries, even in small rural towns, generally have really, really good and really, really fast internet connection. That means you can download books, movies, television shows quickly. And libraries are useful to me for a lot of reasons. One, I will go in while this is going on. I will read the local newspaper sometimes, find out about things going on in the area, catch up on things that I'm interested in magazines. Another thing, too, is just simply talking to people, striking up a conversation, you know, on the way in or on the way out, sometimes with the folks that work there. And I will often find out great things to do in the area that I wouldn't know about otherwise. But this is my biggest tip for wintertime, and this is the right time if you don't have one of these, because now coming into Thanksgiving until Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all that crap, but already these things are on sale, so you can save yourself a bunch of money on these. It's a no-brainer. You know, they'll run on a charge for 7 or 8 hours. That's one of the ways that I get through the night. You'll want to watch these next to learn more about van life. Let me know if you have any questions. Put those down in the comment section. Let me know mainly what you do to entertain yourself on the road and get through these long, drawn-out winter nights. And we'll talk soon.